We will be creating training samples and signature files for supervised classification. We will use image classification using maximum likelihood algorithm, and we will calculate area under each class. Image classification refers to the task of extracting information classes from a multiband raster image. The resulting raster from image classification can be used to create thematic maps. Depending on the interaction between the analyst and the computer during classification, there are two types of classification: supervised and unsupervised classification. Supervised classification uses the spectral signature to obtain from the training samples to classify an image. With the assistance of the image classification toolbar, you can easily create training samples to represent the classes you want to extract. You can also easily create a signature file from the training samples, which is then used by the multivariate classification tool to classify the image. The output is a thematic classified raster dataset, which the class identified in the associated attribute table, colored according to the scheme developed in the training sample manager during the creation of the signature file. Collecting training sample data means delineating a group of pixels representing particular feature, which are delineated from the image. Then all pixels in the image are statistically compared to the class definition that you specified and assigned to a particular feature class. Pixels that do not belong to any defined class are undefined. Training samples shouldn't contain any unwanted pixels that do not belong to the class of interest. When you only choose the correct pixels for each class, the result often are characterized by the normal bell-shaped distribution curve. So what we'll do is basically select training samples, create signature files, and classify it. First of all, first step is to add the data. So we will use the same file which we used earlier, or we created in lab 15, which is mask underscore Nawabshah file. So add that file. Once you have added that file, you have to activate the image classification toolbar. So what you will do is you will go into the ArcMap, right click on the top toolbar, and you will find image classification toolbar. Activate that toolbar. Once you will select it, it will come on your screen. So you have to make sure that your layer is correct. So we only have one file, so we will have mask underscore nawabshah.tif. Now what you have to do is click on the training sample manager. So training sample manager, a pop-up window will come up, which we will fill by creating polygons, circles, or rectangles along the specified pixels. So you can see in the drawing toolbar we will have polygon, rectangle, and circle. So now in ArcMap, identify the area that belongs to the known class. Draw training samples to enclose it. So we can identify each feature. We can start from the water as we can identify it on our image. So Indus River is flowing, so we'll select that certain portion, draw a polygon along it. So once we completed the feature, we will give it a name as water. We can give it a blue color, and we'll put the value 1. So in this scheme, our 1 will be the water. So we'll do more training samples throughout the image, because there will be some reflectance difference especially. So what we will do is basically select 3 or 4 training samples, then merge them into one as a water class. So that's what I am doing here. So I'm looking for another feature, or the same feature in another especially another place. What you can do is basically identify as much pixels which belong to this feature, so to the water, and create a polygon along it. Now what we can do is basically merge all the drawn polygons into one single class using the merge tool. So I will select all these 5 features which I have drawn, and I will use this merge the classes and give it a 1 and a color blue. Value would be the 1, color would be the blue. Now I will do same for other features like agriculture, built up areas, and barren land. So I will especially zoom in, find the different reflectance areas and delineate those areas and give it a certain class. So now I'm basically, what I'm doing here is now demarking the agriculture areas. So I will do at different places, because you will see at some places the agriculture land is green, light green or dark green, so because of the maturity of the crop there. So to identify it, I will take 3 or 4 samples and then merge them. Here you can see in this small area there is agriculture land, also there is built up land, and that is identified with the really like bright areas. So simultaneously I will plot the built up areas here also, like identify the areas and give it a name, and later on I can uh, merge it. So I will give it a build up. It's because they are identified here, so I'm doing it simultaneously. Now I'm selecting this area because there is agricultural land, but a lot of area, like how to say, they are really in light shade color, giving it an agricultural land. So there are a lot of the areas where this shade of the agricultural land occurs in our area of interest. So you can do is like merge the classes, select all the agriculture and merge it into one class, built up into one class. You can assign them values. 1 would be for water, 2 for agriculture, 3 for built up. Now we are only left with the barren land, So we are fortunate enough in this image, like we have desert at our east side, so we can select that reflectance and give it as a barrel end. We'll give it a blue yellow color for identification, and we'll give a value of 4. So identifying more barrel ends into the different areas of the image, because the reflectance would be different, and just to get all into the one class. Now what I'm doing is basically selecting it, merging it, will give it a value of 4. Now I'm done with all the identification of the features. Now I will create a signature file. So you can hit the signature file button, create signature file. So I will keep it in my result folder, name it as sig file, press save. Now my signature file is created. Now what I have to do is basically use image classification scheme. So you will find image classification in your image classification toolbar, and you can select maximum likelihood algorithm for image classification. Your input raster will be your Nawabshah raster, and your signature file would be the file which you created just now. You can give it an output name. So in our case we are giving is SC Nawabshah, Supervised Classification Nawabshah. Press OK, it will do it. And now once it is done, you will get a classified image with 4 features. So it is same as we did in unsupervised classification, and this time it is more like controlled with the signature file, because we identified the features and created the signature file. So I'm giving it a color, so I know 1 is water, and 3 is barren land, 2 is agriculture, and 3 is build up, 4 is our barren land. So you can see it, the whole classified image. It's pretty good classification. Identified most of the features, but there are some bias for built up areas, and that we can refine by selecting more samples. So now what you can do, as we did in lab 16, is calculate the area under each class. You can convert your raster image into polygon, then again add a field with area, calculate the area, select the respective grid number. In this case 1 is the water, so you can identify the area under each class. So I'm doing the same which we did in last exercise, is to convert raster to polygon. I'm giving it, okay, the name would be class supervise, and press OK. You can go into the attribute table. You will find the grid codes. Now you can add the field area, calculate the geometry, use hectares as a unit, press OK, and then you can, suppose if you want area for the water, go select by attribute, grid code will be 1. In this classification is 1 is water, so we'll go select by attribute, grid code equals to 1. Okay, now only the water would be selected. Now you can summarize it, calculate the area. And you can do the same for other grid codes. Repeat it for like agriculture, build up, and all other grid codes. And thank you very much.